Hello, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of Twitch to YouTube. Joining us today is a wonderful content creator and equally wonderful person, all the way from Norway, Yuhoui. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. I hope you enjoy it as much as I will have recording it. Please consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, perhaps leaving a comment down below, and if you feel so inclined, hitting the notification bell to be notified when I release new content. Sit back and enjoy the conversation with Yuhoui. And welcome to the conversation. I am here with the lovely Yuhoui. Hello, Yuhoui.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us on the second episode of the second season of Twitch to YouTube. And if you're unfamiliar with the content, basically what I do is I sit and I ask you about 10 to 11 questions. Some are standard that I ask to every streamer, and some are personalized to you specifically. Are you ready to begin?
Yes.
Yes,
I think.
you look excited. Perfect. Excellent. So let's start with something simple. It all starts with a name. Tell us, the name Yuhoui is quite unique, I would say. Tell us where you got the name, how did you come up with it, what was the genesis of the name?
Ooh, beginning of evil. Well, I have always been a fan of having usernames that have some sort of meaning, and like picking like Helena123 wasn't really something that was for me. And at the time, it was actually because I had to make a PlayStation Network account, like a username. And I was living in Korea at the time, so I picked a classmate of mine's name and then tried to feminize it or make it a bit more mine, so like I juggled around with the words and like pronunciation, etc. So then it became Yuhoui.
Wow, and that is the correct pronunciation, Yuhoui, right? Because I've seen
Yeah.
and heard a few people get tripped up with how to pronounce the name and, all of those very interesting pronunciations. I just want to call you Yuhu a lot of times, but,
I know. Yeah, hoo, Yuhu. It's a lot out there, and it's all oh God, I don't know how the saying is in English, but there is the saying in Norwegian, like something dear has many names.
Ah, yes. Well,
Yeah.
whatever you have to tell yourself to sleep at night. So, you've been streaming on Twitch for how long now? Just for everybody.
I actually don't know. And every time it's in January, I know my anniversary is in January. I think maybe it's 5 or 6 years. Every time January comes around, I try to go back in like my streamer log and trying to find out.
Mm.
I keep forgetting. So right now it's a bit like it's like age. Does it really matter?
Well,
Like long enough.
yes, long enough. I will say you are perhaps, of all the people we've interviewed, the person who streamed the longest. So you've won the gold cup in that. Just
Yay!
what got you into streaming? What started you down the road to streaming? Like, what made you decide, I want to try Twitch, and I want to show people games or hang out with people? What was the story behind that?
It was actually a group of friends that I had at the time. There was an ex-boyfriend of mine and a friend that we actually find through Tumblr back in those days. And we were playing Minecraft and Destiny, the first one that had just come out. We were playing that together. And then we found a third friend as well, and she was really cool. And then we kind of became a clique, and we played a lot of games together. And we had a lot of fun, how do you say it, like chit-chat.
Mm.
And then one of them was like, I think this is, really funny. Like, I would like to stream. And then another one was like, you know what, I'll join you. And then we all kind of just started streaming at the same time, watching each other, like each having each other's channels up on the side. And yeah, it was kind of fun. And then that's how we grew.
Wow. Wow. It's an interesting beginning. It's an interesting start to the story. If anybody here is familiar with my rants on the BB&J show, you know my feelings on Destiny. I will leave it at that. So you mentioned that you've streamed, as you say, for long enough. There are a lot of people who stream and sort of, they try it out for a couple of months, maybe a couple of years, whatever, and then they sort of tail off and they don't stream as much. They stop. They lose the drive, if you will. So what for you has kept you streaming for so long? What's the motivation or the spark that you find to continuously stream for as long as you have?
Well, it's an interesting question because I haven't had a set schedule for maybe 1.5 years.
Mm.
So it's in a way like how much I can still consider myself a streamer is a bit maybe up in the air, but the reason I stopped was because I had to finish my bachelor degree, like my paper. I had to write the paper, and I was also working part time in a new challenging job, so I really didn't have the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, life kind of just got a bit too busy.
Mm.
But up until that point, it was a lot of different things, to be honest. It was mainly the community, or it was the games, or it was just an inner guilt of just like, you find these amazing games and you just hear yourself having this monologue that you would have externally, and you're sitting there thinking like, oh shit, we would have so much fun about if were streaming this.
Yeah.
And then I've had actually a hiatus before this as well. Back in, I want to say 2016. I'm unsure. It was the year, if anyone's familiar with Rooster Teeth, it was the first RTX con in London. It's the first one in Europe.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was that year. I had a couple of months hiatus, and then I was there with some friends, and I met, like, there was someone, like, I was sitting there eating lunch, and then someone, like, almost tapped me on the shoulder and was like, hey, are you Yuhoui? And I was like, mouth stuffed with fries. Yes. And it was a long-time viewer of mine who's actually still an active viewer, who wanted to chat and say how much my stream meant to him. And it was, I don't know, it kind of just pulled me out, like almost made it like my stream is bigger than me, or just see that it affects real life people.
Right.
And also getting that little bit of a kick, like, shit, okay, maybe I want to be actually like known. Maybe I want to be famous. Maybe I want to be everywhere, and such. That has later changed, but it was something that kind of brought me back to streaming.
So what I'm hearing is you're the reason of those "Do you want to be famous" bots that go on Twitch.
Yes.
You're the reason.
Yes, it was. This is the gullible one. That's why they're here all the time. I keep on clicking yes, and
Yeah, you go to the
I
site,
keep on feed.
buyfollowers.com or whatever it is you say. So,
Exactly.
tailing off of that, you have 5.4 thousand followers on Twitch. So, what does a number like that mean to you, the streamer, versus you, the person? Because you just tell a story about how, somebody came up to you and told you about how your stream impacted them. So now you have potentially, obviously not all 5.4 thousand feel the same way, probably, but you have potentially a fair number of them that do. So what does that number mean to you, as I say, the streamer versus the person?
Oh God, that's. I don't know. I've never thought of myself as other, like a streamer versus a person. It's always just been one. But now you're making me think about it.
We make you think on this show.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
Mm.
It's, as a streamer, I guess I don't really see the number as amount of people, because you've been bot rated so many times, and because it's a number that almost always grows, it's never representative of the community. Like the viewer numbers are the numbers that actually represent the community who's there and how big of a following and influence you have, while the follower number is just, it's more an indication of how long you've been there. Like,
Yeah.
for me, it's more like, okay, if you're on there long enough, you'll just gain followers.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you've been certainly been on there quite a while, as you say. So you also have a YouTube channel, and yes. So what was the process like in deciding? Okay, I want to now split content between Twitch and YouTube. Obviously, they're very different types of content. One is pre-recorded and edited and everything, and the other one's live. So what was the sort of thought process in saying, hey, yeah, I think I can do this, I want to do this, and I'm going to do it?
Well, I made the YouTube channel way back, I think around when I started making the Twitch channel as well, because I saw everyone doing it. Everyone was putting their streams and having it as a kind of stream archive, because I think this was before the feature where you could highlight an entire stream. So that if you wanted to, like, if you played an entire game and became a series, if people wanted to watch that later, you had to put it on YouTube. So that's how it started, and it just became a kind of an archive. I didn't really get any much views there. It would just be like, oh, do you remember when I did that 10-hour drunk stream and played Outlast? Yeah, there's the link. and it's glorious, by the way.
We'll be sure to
Really
put that.
bad.
We'll be sure to link the YouTube channel in the description, and make sure to put in there to look out for that 10-hour drunk Outlast stream. It's, you know.
Oh, the worst idea I've ever had. Anyways, so it wasn't until I don't remember when. Again, like I was just following trends and what people were doing in terms of highlight reels or like monthly clip compilations, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Tried to do a couple of them myself. Then I got some community members. I asked some of them to do it for me. I hired a couple of video editors to do it for me. Like it all switched out to figure out like both the style and what was manageable. And then I think it was during Corona, and especially because I wasn't streaming as regularly anymore, I still felt that I needed to put out some sort of content. And that's how I started doing the more like actually recorded, edited, a bit more like thought out video. And yeah, and then like link it with some sort of like Patreon, and then have like per creation, so I feel motivated to still make those videos, and people don't get. They don't lose money when I suddenly go in hiatus or I have creative block, etc. So it turned out like to a great middle solution.
No, it's very nice. We'll touch on the Patreon later. Trust me, I have some questions coming up on that as well. So there are games you stream versus games you upload. You know, for example, you played Horizon Forbidden West when it came out on stream, and then you uploaded Assemble with Care in a 3-part series. What is sort of the creative process to you that says, okay, this is a stream game, this is a YouTube series game? Like, what makes you say one game is one versus the other?
Length.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And don't get any dirty thoughts, but it's all about like things being manageable for me, because again, because I don't have a huge following on YouTube, it's having a long series can be really challenging to motivate to continue to make and edit and like keep up that spirit. So therefore, like keeping it nice and short, and especially with that Assemble with Care, because I actually recorded that all in one sitting. So I just did one recording, and all I had to do was then like edit it and make it a little bit more fun. And then I had 3 videos, and that was really manageable for me. So a huge game like Horizon Forbidden West, I don't see how I would have managed, because that would have been an 80-part series.
Part 80 coming next week, you know, yeah. I mean, yeah, and it's also, with a game that long in sort of length, you sort of run the risk of sort of burnout, if you will, with people on YouTube. You know, it's like, okay, here's part 75, you know, and you're just kind of like, I understand that aspect of it. So, speaking of Patreon, we touched on it a few moments ago. You do have a Patreon, and you have a per creation subscription model versus a monthly subscription model. What was the decision-making process in going with that instead of the standardized monthly model? And did you start off always doing that, or was it something that you switched to as time went on?
It actually, I started off with the monthly one. My Patreon has been a lot of different things. I think it started off. This was actually before the days where affiliates. This was before the days of affiliates. So the only way you could get subscriptions, or like people who to pay you or like get some money monthly, would be to have a Patreon, or there was another one. It's gone now, but. Whisper, I don't remember, but it was some sort of like Twitch subscription that was somehow linked to it. So it started off like that, and then we got that whole affiliate package and stuff like that, and then it became, I think, tied to my photography, because you know I'm a photographer, or at least I was. I'm not practicing as much anymore, but I used to be a lot more active photographer. So both to spark some creativity. For me, and also to create like a little bit of extra income, hustle culture. We did that, and it was started off as a monthly thing. Realized after maybe 3 months it wasn't something that I could keep up with my daily life. Had a long break and told everyone to like please cancel your subscriptions. I'm gonna have a long break for I don't know how long. Apparently a few people still kept it. And I don't know, I told them like, okay, I'm not going to create any content anymore, but they still wanted to. And after a while, when I then started going, like, okay, I'm going to try again with YouTube, and I managed that for maybe a month or two. And then it became a divide, or like it became a two-part strategy where it was like, one, I feel really bad for when I then have a creative block.
Mm.
To like, then they're still going to pay, and I don't deliver anything. And on the other side, it was also like, okay, but I don't have an incentive to create more per month. I could like, if just create one video, 4 videos, it would all be the same.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, I was like, when I saw that I actually could change it per creation, it just clicked. Like, this is the perfect solution for me. I don't have to feel guilty for when I don't create any videos. I get motivated every time I do.
Mm.
It ended up being a win-win.
Yeah, win-win-win. Yeah. I enjoy the content that I get on the Patreon. So you mentioned day-to-day life. You mentioned, photography as a hobby. You have a job. You stream on Twitch when you can. You make YouTube videos. Patreon, all of that. How do you keep from, one, being overwhelmed, and two, how do you keep from burning out? How do you sort of balance all the fires on the stove, if you will?
Since I'm not burnt out.
Well, there's
Gosh,
the answer.
I don't know, and I think that's also the reason why I haven't come back to having a set schedule, because this is now the first time where I've had a full-time job, and that has definitely proven challenging, like energy-wise, to then find the motivation and energy to stream afterwards, because all I want to do is like eat and sleep.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Finding...
I don't know. I haven't found the right balance yet. It's whatever like comes for like one weekend where I have extra energy or I feel inspired. Like, okay, now I'm gonna make a video. Now I'm gonna edit, or now I'm gonna stream. It's all impulse.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the misconception with streaming and content creation in general is how much energy it actually takes. I think a common misconception that a lot of people think it's just, you just record, you just hit go live, but it's not that simple. There's a lot of, you actually have to be an entertaining personality. You have to read. You have to have multiple conversations while playing a game, which just takes a lot of mental capacity and mental energy to do. So it takes a lot of energy. So not being able to find a balance.
Yeah, not only that.
Yes.
Yeah, but also like there's been I've done some research on it and read other people's research, because it requires a lot of emotional labor, which is a relatively old but newly brought back up again research term, where like, because you have to read the room, you have to get people excited, you have to create emotions, you have to respond to emotions, you have to work on your own self so much for so long. For like, I end up stream like 3-4 hours max nowadays, but there are people here who stream like 6-8 hours on the regular. It's a lot of time to then put yourself out there, and when you are a good content creator, when you really get bond with the viewers, you end up creating like a really good emotion, they're good moments, etc. It's tiring.
Yeah, I have several friends who stream about 7-8 hours on the regular. This after coming home from a 8-hour shift at work, and it's just I max out at 3 hours, maybe 3.5 if I'm doing something, but I can't, so yeah, it does take a lot of, as you say, emotional labor, which is a term that I hadn't heard. I can speak English. It's my native language. Absolutely.
It's Mr. American.
Yes, Miss California Cup. Yes, there you go. So, tell us, what was your favorite game you played on stream versus your favorite game overall? And are they different?
Oh, this is difficult. I mean, the thing is, my favorite game overall is Journey the game by that game company. I played that one before I ever was introduced to streaming. I actually found that while I was depressed, and it was such a game changer for me, and it's the game I always introduce to people who want to get into gaming. Like, even my grandparents, I have shown this game, and it's the only game my mom actually low-key likes. So that's my favorite for so many different reasons. The favorite game that I streamed, though, I think will have to be Detroit Become Human because of multiple reasons, really. The game was such a staple, or like it was such a game changer for me as a streamer
Mm.
because that game, I was so excited for it that I actually emailed Quantic Dream, the studio that made the game, and was
Mm.
like, "Hey, I'm a streamer from Norway. This is my channel. I have platinumed all your previous games. I'm, really love this series. I would love to get a copy of it when it releases." And they were like, "Oh, that's really love to hear. We're gonna send you to like our Norway department or something."
Mm.
And then it got sent through up the system, etc. And then I got in contact with PlayStation Norway, and after some more back and forward, I ended up getting it on release day.
Oh wow.
And it was a huge. So that was the first introduction I had to them here in Norway, and it was such a big moment for me as well because I think it was the first AAA big game that I got for
Mm.
free,
Mm.
and it was a game that I absolutely loved. I played through it so many times. The first time I got to the ending, I full on cried on stream, like true crying. And it was such a like the people in my stream as well, people who came in originally just to like watch Sims games or to watch other games that I played. They stayed specifically for that, and they were so drawn into the story. It
Mm.
became such a talking point that we even talked about it afterwards. Like, what should we have done? What are we going to explore now? It was, yeah, no,
Mm.
it just meant so much to me and my community. I think.
No, that's really. I really like I love Heavy Rain is my favorite of theirs. Heavy Rain.
Jason.
Jason. Yeah, my friends and I just yell at each other randomly, just when we just out and about and people look at us weird. You mentioned before the sort of guilt that you'd have when you're playing a game and you're like, man, this would be fun if it was on stream. Now,
Yeah.
me as a streamer, there's a difference when you play a game on stream versus when you play it by yourself. There's both positives and negatives, in my opinion. Has there ever been a game in which you saw it coming out, or you played it maybe on stream and you said, this is more of a me game? This isn't really necessarily for stream. I want this to be a personal sort of experience, or I want this to be an off-stream kind of experience. Has there been the reverse sort of the guilt?
There probably has been a few times, but I have quite a goldfish memory, so the only one I remember is the recent one, which is Horizon Forbidden West,
Mm.
which was such an anticipated game, both for like the world and for my community as well. That I definitely I streamed it on release day, and that was something that I wanted to do, but I realized both while playing it, and I probably knew also before that it wasn't something that I could continue. I couldn't continue streaming just like I couldn't play the game only on stream because I wanted to play it so often all the time. I wanted to get into it, and I didn't have the energy to stream it as much as I wanted to play it.
Right.
So then I knew that, okay, either then I'm gonna have to stream it every now and then the people who watch me are gonna have huge chunks in between it. I have to recap what's been happening in the story. And I didn't really feel like that, so I just ended up like, I'm gonna do the intro, we're gonna have one stream, the rest just for me.
Yeah, I understand that completely because there are games in which, and I kind of my guilt sort of with my community is that they don't get to see me experience things for the first time a lot because there are games that I am very anticipated for, but I want to experience it because it's like I can't immerse myself fully in a game if I'm streaming because I have to pay attention to chat. It's the emotional sort of, as you said, the emotional labor is sort of divided between immersion and making sure everything else is going smoothly. There's maybe technical issues, and then it's chunks of 3-4 hours at a time, and you have to stop. So there are games in which that I am really anticipating that I'm like, I can't. I want this to be immersion. I want to sink into it. If I want to marathon it for 6 hours one day and play it for 3 hours or 2 hours the next day, I want to be able to. If I want to play it until 2 a.m, I don't want to be on a set stream schedule. So yeah, that's where my guilt comes with. They don't get to see me experience things for the first time.
Yeah.
But I have such a shining personality that it makes up for it. So
Oh, absolutely.
so you have been, as we sort of circle towards the landing of this interview, you have been streaming for long enough, as you say. If you could look forward into what you would hope, say we were to do this interview again in 5 years, what would you have hoped would be where your stream is by then? Would you hope it's back to a regular schedule? Would you hope it's as it is? Where would Yuhoui want Yuhoui from 5 years from now to be as a streamer?
That's a good question.
I,
And that definitely, if you'd asked me maybe half a year ago, it would have been completely different. Then I probably would have said like I would want to be a full-time streamer. I would want to have been like a Twitch ambassador kind of a thing, like someone who is known, who has a good community, who can do meetups without being afraid that there are only going to be two people showing up, and those kinds of things. But I had a tweet blow up a couple of weeks, maybe a month ago or something, and it really highlighted for me. I don't know, like it showed me so much like how people can, like how it is to have so many eyes on you, and how it is then to feel like, okay, but what if I make a mistake, or like the repercussions of having so many eyes on you, and that whole thing of you always being under scrutiny and that things can be interpreted in the worst ways, etc. So not that the tweet did, but it opened my mind to so many possibilities that I was like, I don't actually want that. I don't want so many eyes on me. What I actually want is to be impactful. Like I want to have an impact on people. I want to reach people, and I don't necessarily have to be that well known.
Yeah.
To do that.
Yeah. Very.
So yeah. So I think like 5 years from now, maybe have like a bit more like a bigger community. Maybe not. Maybe we'll continue to be like this. But I would like to have a bit more energy and time to stream. To be honest, I would love to end up in a place where I can do what I want when I want it, which is just general in life. So, yeah.
No.
I have a streamer that I looked up to, and I very much want like a life like hers, living on a farm, growing her plants, painting, just streaming whenever. It's fantastic.
Well, we all here hope that you achieve that, be it a year from now, 5 years from now, or 10 years from now. We hope that somewhere out there you'll be in the wilderness with an internet connection, and you'll be like the wilderness Bob Ross, or
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll start building AI machines, and then it all begins.
Yeah, there you go. Just start building an afro. Now. Because Bob Ross had a epic afro.
I that too.
Yeah. So, now for the final question. I've started this sort of midway through last season, and I've gotten a wide variety of responses from people. Some I've had one or two easy answers. Most people seem to get stumped and sort of give me halfway answers. So let's see if you can continue the trend. Tell me your favorite stream so far.
Of myself or someone else's?
No, your stream.
I actually know this. I actually do have a good answer. This have been the Movember stream of 2000 and... Was it 20? It might have been 2020. Yeah, it was not 2021, so it must have been 2020. It was a Movember stream. We were having so much fun, and while I always charity streams take a lot of energy, like a lot of planning, like how do you make the goals both achievable and fun and incentives, etc. So a lot of work, and I'd worked with Movember a few times beforehand as well. But the extra fun part was that Movember actually came into the stream while I was live. And I think this was the America office, so this was super late over here in Norway, so it was like midday work day in America. And they were like, they were giving me so many compliments and saying like how fun it was and how they'd put me on the big screen in their office and how the entire office was watching. And it was just such a fun yet humbling moment. And I don't remember, and at the same time, I just had fun. I think I put on like 3 home knitted scarves, and I had like a mustache on, and I had googly eyes on my entire face. I was made such a fool of myself, and I've never had more fun.
Oh, that sounds
It was,
awesome.
yeah,
We'll have to
glorious.
we'll have to look in the archives to see if we could find it on either your Twitch channel or your YouTube channel somewhere.
Probably isn't there. I'm very bad at doing the archives. There's probably a clip somewhere, and if Twitch ever fixes their search function, you can find it.
Oh, Twitch fixing things. Hardy har har. Ending on comedy, I see. Ending on comedy. Well,
Oh,
yes,
don't you even go about comedy?
I have the best humor, and you know it. So, you have survived the interview, Miss Yuhoui. I want to thank you sincerely for joining me. This was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing this. I hope you had a lot of fun on your end as well. And who knows, maybe we'll have you back and we'll discuss other things. I don't know, we'll find things that you do. And we'll come in here and we'll grill you on it in the future. But thank you for joining us. And thank you for being so open and forthright with your answers.
Of course. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. A jolly good time.
Hey, jolly good time, always. Stay tuned for the outro, and once again, a thank you to Yuhoui. And that was the conversation with the wonderful Yuhoui. I want to say thank you again to her for joining us, and a thank you to you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and please consider liking this video, subscribing, perhaps leaving a comment down below, and if you feel so inclined, hitting the notification bell to be notified when I release new videos. We'll be back next week with more of Twitch to YouTube. Thank you, and stay safe.